Hello, hello, hello. I hope everybody is all good, and I have a lovely guest with me today. I have Lisa from Lisa Marie Astrology. How are you, Lisa? You right?
Great. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Well, nice to see you. It's been a minute.
Yes. Yeah, you too. It's been a while.
It's been a while. We need to catch up after this. Maybe tomorrow or next weekend. So
Actually, yeah, I should do that. I should schedule a Astro catch up with our
yes,
people that we
with our
trained
group.
with, and yes, our Astro fans.
Yes. Yes.
Right, let me
And what a
just
great topic too, because we're talking about Aquarius and that's our
community, yeah, and online
community of
community. Yeah,
astrologers.
exactly. Yes. And obviously being very future focused, we're looking at what our plans are, looking at what future plans are for our community, and just generally feeling into the vibe.
And
Really
how we
cool.
can help each other. Yes.
Exactly. And all over the world. I love that.
Yes. Yes. So many Aquarian qualities in that.
Yes. Right. Actually, let's just. Okay. I will introduce you properly. So, for anybody who doesn't know us, I am Emily. I am an astrologer, tarot card reader, and I sell lots of things on my website as well. You can book readings, be it a astrology reading or a tarot card reading. And I also have these lovely, drops phone, self-care notepads available. And I will have my planner in its full entirety very soon, but I'm just waiting for them to be delivered. So there's lots of things to look forward to. I'm just going to retrieve my phone. Right, okay. So my lovely guest today is Lisa Hilgenberg. Lisa is a proud graduate of the Debra Silverman Applied Astrology School, which we both went to. She was born and raised in the Chicago area, and is currently living in Southeast Wisconsin with her partner, Andrew. They have 2 kids and their 2 dogs. So it's a hectic household, I guess.
It's always a circus, but it's my circus, so I love it.
Yeah, amazing. Lisa has always been deeply fascinated with and has studied elements of psychology and human behaviour. She is a natural born therapist, which is a perfect pairing for her astrology practice. Lisa is passionate about learning, and one of the greatest joys in her life is when she can use what she has learned to help someone else. I think that's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
And that is part of her calling, of course. Aside from astrology, Lisa has professional experience in all things marketing, writing, HR, and business strategy, as well as event planning. Wow, you've done so much. That is such a cocktail of
Yeah,
accolades. It really is.
it is a cocktail for sure. But it's been quite the journey, but it's so nice to actually right now in my life have the culmination of I get to do all the business things that I'm good at, and then
Yeah.
also have the astrology piece because I am working for Debra Silverman and also, have my own practice. So it's amazing.
So let us know then. What do you do for Debra Silverman's school, as it were?
So I am focused on managing her podcast, her PR, and marketing. And I'm actually going to be the host of her upcoming live portion of her immersion. So that starts
Oh,
January
wow.
30th. If anybody is interested in joining and you haven't yet, there's a link in my bio. It's going to be such a cool experience. I helped out on the last one behind the scenes, so it's going to be different.
Yes, I remember.
Bringing me into the forefront, but I'm really excited, and it's really such a blessing to be able to work with Debra and help drive her mission forward of continuing to teach astrology to the masses because it's such a powerful tool that you can integrate into any type of function in your life, whether it's just you or you're adding it as an additional modality, like for somebody that is a therapist or somebody that is an oracle card or tarot card reader or a psychic. There's all these different places, whether it's super woo woo or not at all, you can apply
Yeah.
astrology to really understand so much about yourself, other people, the cycles in society, all the things. There's so many applications. It's an endless rabbit hole.
Oh, definitely, yes. And obviously astrology is being that future focused area which holds space for so much. So I can't remember if I just said astrology or Aquarius then,
You
but
said
either way.
astrology, but it's the same. Yeah,
I
goes
was
both
trying,
ways.
yeah, what I was going for was that Aquarius is that sign that
Mhm.
incorporates things like science, technology, the future, community, and so much more. I mean, how does it show up in your life? Because would you let us know your top three so they can relate if anybody's
Sure.
interested in astrology and stuff?
So my big three, I'm an Aquarius sun, an Aries moon, and a Virgo rising. How Aquarius shows up in my life, if anybody that I know is watching, they'll probably be laughing because how doesn't Aquarius show up in my life in terms of, I'm very future pacing. I like to systemize and analyze things. My brain is like a computer. That's also Mercury in Aquarius, but that's a whole
Mm.
other story. Um, so I take that information, I analyze it, and then I plan out ways of innovation, ways to make the future experience better. So whether it's my own internal experience or it is the experience of the people that I work with or the people in my life, like I'm
Mm.
always looking towards what can we do to make this better? What change can we make? So that sense, I'm very Aquarius. There's also the element of I've always been different. Like I've never been somebody that's been able to fit under a category. You can't put me in a box, right? So there's this element of being very free-spirited, very eccentric in a lot of ways, and I think, by the way, as we have this conversation and just generally, I think there's a lot of words that are out there that we use that have these negative connotations, one of them being eccentric, one of them being sensitive. These words aren't bad words, right? They're adjectives used to describe someone. And I think that it really does us a disjustice when we have these negative connotations that are attached to them. So, eccentricity, but this is also coming from an Aquarian who says, let's think about things beyond like whatever the normal construct is, right? Um, so yeah, the eccentricity aspect of things, a little bit rebellious, just a little bit. The contrarian, I always think about how funny it is. There was before I really understood astrology, there were so many times where I would purposefully do things like outside of what normal people were like what everybody else was normally doing, right? So when everybody the women were dyeing their hair dark in the winter, I would go light in the winter, like things like that. Or somebody would tell me I can't do something because I'm a woman, or they didn't think I could do it. Well, that's okay, challenge accepted. I will take it. So it's in that respect always the qualities of rebellion, contrarian, and then I think and independence. Really, that's such a big Aquarian factor. And also community and humanitarianism. So this is very much also how I'm talking is very Aquarian, where I'm going from one place to another. Um, very community focused. So I'm always looking beyond myself to say, how can I make this better for these people or the rest of the world, society? I'm very focused on the bigger picture experience.
Oh, yes. So beautiful. I'm playing around a little bit because I kind of think people need a bit of interest. And if it's just us all the time in the same place, it kind of looks very same all the way through. So I thought, well, when you've got the gold, have the hot seat. Show yourself on the screen. And then I come back and then we kind of just
Sounds good to
play
me.
with it.
Work. Just don't let me go too far off on an Aquarian tangent because I will.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, though. I think that actually eccentricity has had a bad rap over the years, but actually it is, as you say, it's a case of, yeah, you're quirky, you're thinking outside the box. It doesn't have to be a box. It can be a whole universe. It's whatever you make it.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely. There's so much there. Let me just grab back to the questions and things I said I was planning on asking you. But basically, what inspires you at the moment in life? Is there things that inspire you to keep going and help you figure out your directions, in manifesting goals, dreams, and whatever it is that you're seeing for the future? That's a big question, actually.
Yeah, wow. That's a big question. What inspires me is being better. I think if I were to encapsulate all of the thoughts and feelings around what inspires me, the shortest way to encapsulate it would be being better. So it's, and I say that from the personal perspective of being a better person, being a better me. Part of that is leveling up, and it's also looking inward, and the human experience is very much, I think another thing that the Aquarian would like to dispel is that maturity, when you reach a certain age, it's almost like society thinks that you stop your growth. And I think it's just the opposite. I think we need to be in a growth mindset all the time. And with that, that's one of the things that inspires me is how can I be better today? How can I be better tomorrow? How can I plant the seeds now for the future that I want, which is definitely a very Aquarian theme and very much an Aquarian new moon vibe, right? That's very much in line with the feelings under this Aquarius new moon of what is my vibration? What is my current electrical vibration, and how is that affecting my inner self, my outer self, and the people around me? And when I think to the future of what I want to be, and the future can be anything, it can be tomorrow, it could be a month from now, it could be 10, 20 years from now. But ultimately, it's the future, right? Right now, we're in the present moment, virtually connecting across the pond, which is very cool. But ultimately, when we look towards the future is how we are vibrationally right now in this moment. Is that working towards the goal of what I want to be in the future? And what I want to be is my better self, and be able to make an impact on the world. And the world, again, can have very different definitions for people. So it can be, my world on one hand is my home with my kids and my partner, being a better mom, being a better partner. And then I look at my experience at work, being better at what I do at work, giving more, being more impactful. And then I really bring it back to this like bigger picture humanitarian view, very Aquarius, of saying, what am I doing each day to make the world a better place? It sounds so cliche, but it really is at the heart of what inspires me. I want to make sure that we are raising the vibration of ourselves and the collective so that we can have a better human experience, because none of us are getting out of here alive.
No.
And ultimately, any depending on what you believe, reincarnation or not, this lifetime is a gift. So how do we make the most of it?
Obviously there's no gift like the present, but apart from that, we still need to think about a few future things as well. Yes, so when I was thinking about the new moon, we might as well talk about it.
Sure.
So happy solar returns to anybody who's Aquarian, like Lisa. Your birthday soon. And also shout out to my mum. Her birthday's on the 12th. And also, I believe my sister's boyfriend also has a birthday on the 19th, if I remember rightly. So shout out to him too.
Shout out to my 4 Aquarian best friends. Somehow I've collected them. I guess there's, a funny reason behind that.
You get each other.
We sure do.
So yes, also happy new moon to people, because it will be the new moon tomorrow in the UK. Actually, I can shout out the dates. I just look at diary. Not dates, I mean times even. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so in London tomorrow, it will be at 8:53 in the evening. Sydney on the 22nd at 7:53 in the morning. LA at 12:53 tomorrow, and New York at 3:53 also tomorrow. I thought I should have the date so people knew when the new moon was.
So that
you knew.
And that's the exact degree for those of you who are listening in, but we generally feel these major lunations 2-3 days before, 2-3 days after. So it's not just hitting the mark on that specific time. Like if you should really try to lean into encapsulating the feeling of what this new moon is right now, because there is a message for all of us.
Oh, definitely. Yes, because it's about 2.5 days, the actual transit, but yes, as you say, you can feel the energies, and it definitely does feel there's like radical changes that are going on, sort of breaking down of the structures, sort of government wise, and also just globally. There's so many things going on, and you can see lots of people who are awakening to different things going on around them, whether it's they're thinking, oh, maybe I should incorporate more rest, more self-love, self-care, maybe I should actually think about myself and how I fit into my community, and so many things. And it's how can I, as you were saying, how can I make things slightly better? How can I make sure that people feel a bit more aligned and I'm not losing myself within that too? It's kind of, we go back to, I mean, by all means, people can catch up. When I last had Lisa on my channel and we were talking about the moon signs and things, that was an amazing discussion. That is in my interviews playlist still, if anyone wants to watch it. We were talking all about the star card and all that inspiration and things and compassion, and they're big keywords across Aquarius and also the star card. So feel free to take a look at that if you want to. But yes, I think this new moon is all about, what did I say? I made a start on my blog, so that will be available at some point today. If anybody wants to catch that, which is on my website under the blog section. So the little hamburger menu thing, just click blog and you'll see it in there. So yes, I said that the new moon's in a beautiful sextile, so that's a harmonious connection with Jupiter. So Jupiter's our planet of luck, and it's all about abundance, and it can be excess, whether that's too much of something. too much sort of, I don't know, overindulging on something, or whether it's literally more energy in an area. But Jupiter can also be about our growth as well. So yeah, what we've been talking about already is so very relevant to what's going on with this new moon. So Jupiter's currently in Aries and asks for more independence, more movement, and can be somewhat impulsive. So you've got the impulsivity that kind of energy has when it's in Aries. But then if you bring that also to what's going on with the sun and the moon both next to each other in Aquarius, it's kind of, you've got the sort of like more awakening, more quirkiness, more being out there, more being seen and heard. And we have 5 planets in air at the moment. So there's so much going on. What should I say about that? Oh yeah, so with 5 planets in air, which are the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Saturn, and Mars, allow your actions, values, and emotions to guide the structure and freedom you deserve. Your thoughts shape your beliefs, and if you believe it, you can achieve it.
I love that.
I won't go too much more into the astrology. People can read the rest in the blog when it eventually comes out. So.
Awesome.
What are your thoughts on what we're experiencing at the moment? Is there anything else you would add? I think your dog wants to add some.
Yeah, she has a lot to say.
One of them.
I think you encapsulated it really well. I think that, like I was saying, it's very much an opportunity to check in vibrationally with where you're at and take inventory, and the new moon offers us a blank slate to set these new goals and work towards them. So what is the goal of what you want to what you want the future to look like, what you want to be in the future, and how do you get there? Making actionable steps and actually using that Jupiter in Aries, like taking the step forward, like it's actually with Jupiter in Aries, it's more of a jump because it's very much a leap of faith into yeah, it's just like that sort of
the unknown, I guess.
a propulsion behind you, like a jetpack of being able to just send you off. So get really clear on what you want your future to look like, and whatever the future, however future is defined by you, and make it happen. Just do it. Right?
Yeah.
That's the impulsiveness behind it. But an impulsiveness can be really good because it can push you off the fence if you've been hemming and hawing and kind of just sitting there like waiting for a sign. This is your sign to jump. Just do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a lot to say about, because we got all the air energy as well in that. It's kind of a case of, well, you're going to talk about it, but you're also going to take the actions. So it's not just going to be empty promises, empty words. You're actually going to take action because there is all that energy there.
And infinite possibilities with all this.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's important for people to remember too, and I know we talked about this in the moon chat that we had, which is, again, a wonderful chat. So go check it out. But Aquarius, the glyph is the 2 wavy lines, and Aquarius is the water bearer. So people often think of those wavy lines as water, but it is electrical energy. That is what is behind Aquarius. And so when we think about air, we're not just thinking about like the actual wind. We're thinking about electrical energy. And when you think about the quality and the science behind consciousness and thought, there's an electrical connection to it. So there are infinite possibilities, infinite things for you to tap into. It's just I think the challenge is all the things that are possible is finding the one that's right for you, grabbing onto it, and then you got to go. So take this energy and really push yourself to move forward. Don't let yourself get lost in the ethers.
Yeah. because we've got the North Node in Taurus anyway, so it's kind of, it's grounding down in some of those possibilities as well. It's not just letting them be all up here in our heads and not acting on them.
But it's a
And
lot of
finding,
air to contend with.
yeah, sure. Of course, yeah. But we're still trying to find some of that comfort within any change. And change is always big, and it can be gritty. It can not always come through as all, you know, fluffy and nice and, you know, everything.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of knowing that things can be a bit gritty, but they can also be lovely, and it's going to be worth it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great point, that that's another dirty word for some people, is change.
Yeah.
And but yeah, to Emily's point, it is very much, there's that saying that nothing good ever comes easy. So work towards your goal. Understand that, like, take the setbacks as an opportunity for wisdom and the lesson within it. Don't let it deter you. Really let it push you forward to be better.
Definitely. So let's get a little back to, I can't speak now. Too many words. Let's get a little bit back to things with you and what we were talking about. So what was I going to ask you? So how did you actually come across astrology to begin with?
To
What drew
begin
you?
with, whew, well, I definitely had the reflection that this has been part of a past life for sure. So there's always been an interest for me. My funny story is, I remember, you know, back when the iPhone first came out and you could get your horoscope on an app, and it was so cool. And I remember sharing it with a coworker of mine who was also an Aquarius. And we would talk about it so much. But then I also had this reflection of, how can 12 signs encapsulate billions of people? Like, if you take billions divided by 12, like, how can it truly be accurate for everyone? So that was part of my Aquarian mind trying to make sense of a different thought. But I was really interested in it, really connected to it naturally. And back to my funny story was that I remember telling my grandma about my horoscope, and she said, well, she's very Catholic, and she said, "Oh, you shouldn't be reading that. That, you know, that's not okay. That's against religion." And I'm like, "I don't think it is. But okay, grandma, you know, I'll just not read it around you." And then flash forward, my grandmother had passed away, and we were going through her jewelry box, me and my cousins, and, you know, keeping the things that felt sentimental towards us. And I had actually come across a pocket watch with all 12 signs of the zodiac on it, and I thought,
Wow.
"Really, grandma? After all the crap you gave me?" So I think that there is definitely, actually, I know, based on the other familial relationships that I have on that side of my family, there's definitely very much a generational connection to the astrology interest, but I think it was very hush hush for my grandma, obviously. So that's my funny story of her getting pissed off at me, but ultimately, like, I see you, grandma, you know, I know you were interested this whole time. And so then flash forward to 2020, I had my son 3 weeks before we ended up going into lockdown in the US. And a few weeks before I had him, I actually had gotten an email that had a mention of Debra Silverman's astrology school in it. And I forwarded it to my partner and I said, "I can't do this now because I'm about to have a baby. But I would love to do this at some point because I have all these astrology books, I have all this interest, but I've never actually formalized my interest and my knowledge. But I would love to commit to a class like this. And he said, absolutely, we for sure will do that for you. You deserve it. So I have my son. We go into lockdown. Everybody's got their pandemic story. This is mine. And I had already had my daughter as well. She was 19 months when my son was born. So here I am. I have a toddler. I have a newborn. My partner is a frontline worker. It's very disorienting to have a newborn, let alone having a newborn in a pandemic. So I was really struggling, and then I ended up coming across Debra's class again. I watched a webinar and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Like, maybe this is the key to me doing something for myself finally. Like, let me just do it. So I signed up for classes and it changed everything for me. It's like the light went on and it'll never turn off now, because once you learn astrology, once you really understand it, and it is so much more than your sun sign, so much more.
Definitely.
But once you turn on that light, like you can't not look at all of the little things. It's just such an eye opener, and it really makes you aware of so much more energetically, spiritually, beyond yourself. And I also want to circle back to my personal story with my grandmother of, I've been meaning to say this out loud, so I feel like this is the perfect place to say it with you, Emily, is that astrology is not a religion. It is a science. It's in fact the oldest science on earth, and it's a language. And being an astrologer or following astrology does not have any religious connotation to it. You can be an atheist and be interested in astrology. You can be a Catholic and be interested in astrology. You could be a Buddhist, you could be whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. And I think that I'm sure that there's going to be people that disagree with me, that are raised under these fundamental religious points of view, and that's fine. But I would just say, open yourself up to the possibility of this not being this demonic practice that it's been made out to be for literal centuries. And then before that, it was only male astrologers being hired by a king to tell him what's going to happen next, right? And then these astrologers really were, if they didn't tell the king the right information, they'd get their heads chopped off. So it's like a very, when we think about carrying astrology as the new age of astrologers, when we think about carrying the torch of that, there's a lot of like very intense energy attached to these past experiences and astrology itself. So it's a really interesting, like, we're not this is not just some cool, like, bohemian, thing to think about and do. Like, it is a serious business when you're really diving into it. But obviously you don't have to get as serious and as involved as Emily and I are. But there's a history, and the history is so fascinating. And then it's so cool to see people like me and Emily that have come out of Debra's school. That's predominantly women. There's definitely men's, and we'd love to have more men in the school too as well, but that wasn't like that before. It was very much a male dominated space, even just like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, and now here we are, like, there's so many of us coming to the surface, and it's such a beautiful thing. My caution in that is that there is a lot of misinformation out there from people that say they know astrology, but they actually don't. So getting a proper education on it is just so important. And also understanding that when you have an astrologer that is messaging you, or you see on TikTok that's talking about some like doom and gloom, like pump the brakes. Like that's not how it's supposed to be. We can certainly talk about in a very serious nature, like the political undertones of certain things happening, certain transits in society. There's definitely some big topics, but ultimately, don't let it be this like, there's so many people that are afraid to get a reading from me because they're afraid I'm going to tell them something bad. And I'm not. And neither is Emily, because we were trained the right way. And that doesn't mean though that when we give you a reading that we're going to tell you all of these like fluffy, beautiful, like super super positive, everything is like rainbows and sunshine. But we're not gonna tell you when somebody passes away, or when something bad, don't drive in your car on March 15th, because like, but that's, I think there's such a calling right now, at least within me. Another thing that inspires me is to break down this misinformation and this preconceived notion of what astrology is, and really educate people on what it actually is, and what it can be for you and can be for us in society.
Amazing. Yes, I totally agree with you. There is so many misconceptions and so much fear, but actually it's there as a tool. It's there, much like tarot, much like reading a magazine, much like it's all advice, but you can take it or leave it. There's always free will. And within any kind of capacity where you're holding space with people, holding space, and there's my logo. It's like my hands up saying holding space, and there it is. Anyway, that's part of why it's in there. But yes, so there is a lot that comes into holding space with people about morality and ethics. We don't know everything. We don't play God. We don't try and be something we're not. We go within the parameters that we've learnt. We can look at your chart. We can say, these could be challenges. These could be things that you'll be more likely to succeed at. But then an excess of too many things that you're good at, or an excess of too many things that are challenging, can also have its own obstacles that you need to work with too. So like anything in life, there will be things that are harder, things that come more easily or naturally to you. And when you have a map, as it were, when you have a map of when you took your first breath, which is astrology, and then what was coming up over the eastern horizon at the moment that you took that breath, and all the different areas of your life, you'll see actually there are things that, yeah, I'm really brilliant at that. Or sometimes it's harder. What can I do to help me here? And we can sometimes give you a bit of feedback as, okay, this might be useful, that might be useful, that might be harder because of so-and-so, or this could be part of one of your personality traits, but don't hold that back and don't hold yourself to it. It's not a fault, it's just the way you're designed. Everybody's designed in a certain way, but that's their human nature. We're not designed to be carbon copies of each other. And actually, there's so much beauty and uniqueness in that. So embrace it. Don't fear it. So,
And astrology is very much about celebrating that. And Aquarius is very much about celebrating that.
Yeah, bringing the compassion back into your life and how you see everyone else as well. Definitely. Yes. So what I've said as well with calling this episode knowledge, compassion, and community, we have shared so much about that so far already. What was going to ask you? So a lot of things that you've talked about, Lisa, within both your bio and also any conversation we've had, is about learning lessons. What have been some of the greatest lessons that you've learned within your life and also within learning astrology?
Oh boy. For me personally, I think it was my understanding of how much fire was in my chart, and that was such has played out so dramatically for me, and as far as being this very fiery woman. I thought it was just a generational ancestral thing, but I actually do have a lot of fire in my chart. So, but and I have permission to be loud and to be the warrior and to be energetic and passionate about the things that get me excited. Um, I think astrology has also given me a lot of it's just given me so much compassion for myself and being able to understand my edges of like why am I so intense about cleaning things and like why is it so important to me to like have everything like this? Well, I'm a Virgo rising. So, you know, that's a good reason. Um and then the it's not just giving you the reason, but it's also getting you to understand on what spectrum are you in this placement. So when I think about my Virgo rising, I think about everything as a spectrum. Are you very Virgo rising or are you like not really? And when too much of something, too much of a good thing can be bad, right? So there's definitely ways that I've been way too intense with like my the way that I do things and like how I have to have things done a certain way. And like in a lot of ways, it can be kind of difficult to live with me because I've got these really high standards for myself. But so I've learned to kind of like trick my Virgo into taking a step back a little bit, but also learning to turn on these different pieces of my chart when I need it. Like when do I need to go inward and really ground myself and utilize that Virgo, or when do I need to take my Aries moon out and go, you know, be the warrior and stand up for somebody or stand up for myself, or when do I need to lean into my Aquarius so that I can really think about the bigger picture, and then when do I take all of it together? Like how do I take the best qualities of each piece of that and bring it into whatever I'm doing so that I can really make a difference? And
Mm.
that's what it's about. And ultimately that's why it's so cool once you understand your chart, and then you can understand like what am I good at actually? 'Cause maybe what you think you're good at is not quite it. Maybe it's more of a meld of some other things that you can really lean into, but you just really haven't understood that aspect of yourself, and then you can move into this, like, the ultimate culmination of all of these qualities and find the right place for you at work, at home, you know, with the right partner, within the right community. I think for so long, I've been blessed with being able to naturally connect with people of all walks of life. But there's been so much of my life that I've always felt like even though I can have these friends, like I still don't, it's not like I feel 100% held and supported. But you know, in the astrology community and like connecting with the people that I've connected with, like you, Emily, it's like I know like this is my tribe of people. Like these are the people that ultimately speak my language. I have my friends that some of them are interested in what I have to say about astrology. Others are like, you know what, I'm good, totally fine. Um, but it's just so nice to finally feel like I have somewhere to be. And part of that is also my own self of being able to understand myself and actually come to terms with who I am and accept that instead of me, even though I'm very proudly haven't fit inside a box, like there's this inner conversation where I have wanted to fit inside a box. I have wanted to be able to, everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to have a definition, like defining qualities. Everybody wants to have, we are people that are used to being in a tribe. So I've always wanted that, and I've not found that fully until I really understood myself and also found the astrology community.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah, so when I'm looking at your chart, I can see obviously that you've got your moon, so it's the need to actually express yourself and actually have the energy to move forward, because you can't stay still. It's just not who you are. You don't stay still. You've got to move. But also having the Mars there, it is the energy. It's like the moon and the Mars together. So, oh, I've got to move. But I've also got to be out there, and I can't hide like all my emotions and everything, because actually the world needs some of it. But with your Aquarian nature anyway, you are meant to be that change maker. You're meant to wake the world up a bit and show them that there are so many things that you can do, that you can be, and not everything is so black and white. So
absolutely. Yeah. And feeling that within myself and not having that part of understanding until I understood astrology, like feeling that was uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to feel like I can't help but speak the truth. And sometimes it's gotten me in trouble. But ultimately, has it though? Like when I look back, I don't actually think so, because really the truth has led me to where I am now. And where I am is in this continuance of like feeling really good about who I am and being the better person, striving to be better each day. So yeah, it's I don't know. I can't speak enough about the power of astrology, of being able to have those introspections, and also having somebody who, like Emily knows me. So she's seen some of these things in my chart play out in certain ways. But I can honestly tell you that if we don't know you and we read your chart, we can still nail down who you are, because that's the nature of a chart, of an astrology chart. And we can't you can't manipulate it, in the sense of like you can't decide that you don't want to be an Aquarius and you want to be a Taurus instead. Like it doesn't work like that. There's not there's no manipulation on our end. When we generate a chart, we just enter your birth information, out pops a chart, and we interpret it. And I think that's the coolest thing in terms of not being able to like pick something out for somebody and have it make sense for them. It's, here's what this says. Like, does this resonate with you? And back to my statement about like you're more than just your sun sign, you are definitely. And if you feel like you are technically an Aquarius by date, but you don't feel like one, there's probably something in your chart that is glaring that says this is why. You probably have a very strong aspect, or you're leaning into more of your rising sign than anything else. Or maybe you don't even fully understand like the definition of what your sun sign really means, because you're just reading these horoscopes or on an app. Like having an actual human being synthesize, interpret, and generate that information and have a dialogue with you about your chart, that is where the magic happens. Not in an app, not in, any other realm other than having a one-on-one conversation with a person. Sorry, I keep going really off topic, but
no. Astrology, that's the topic.
it's all leading into, it's very much my Aquarian stream of thought. And I literally can sense like somebody that I know watching this and laughing, because they're like, this is how she thinks and talks all the time. Like I connect these pieces of things, and like maybe it doesn't make sense to everybody else, but in my brain, my Aquarian brain. Everything is connected. There's no
Totally.
like there's an illusion of separateness. And that is a whole other topic.
Yeah. I've got Aquarius on my midheaven, as you know, which to everybody else, what that means is that my reputation, what I'm known for, what I could become famous for in any respect, is actually, it is that same Aquarian nature. And so I often get people say to me, well, Emily, how is that relevant? Well, that is relevant because this, that, and the other, and that eventually that comes back to that. And that, oh, well, if we heard all of that from your brain, maybe we'd make the connection. But otherwise, you're so random, Emily. You probably get some of that as well. It's, oh, that looks really random, Lisa. Where'd you get that from?
Random. I have no idea what that's like as an Aquarius.
No?
No. There's also an abundance of sarcasm, by the way.
Oh, wow. You were quite deadpan when you said it the first time. I've got no idea what that's like. I was like, wow, that's such blatant, amazing delivery.
Thank you.
What else? Anything else? Oh yes, I know you've done things like marketing and HR and things in your life. How do you have any tips for anybody about like marketing their business, or whether it's spiritual business, whether it's, I don't know, psychological or astrological or whatever, or just products?
I think I could really bring it back to the undertone theme of this conversation, which is like, understand who you really are. Because being able to know your natural traits, like your natural strengths, and then also your weaknesses, and learning how to balance those out, I think is really important, whether you're talking interpersonally or professionally. But ultimately, understanding, getting really clear on that, and then getting really clear on your goals. And sometimes the goal seems like so lofty and so unattainable, but you have to understand that this is our one, well, for some of us, some people are sensitive to other lifetimes, but let's assume that this is the only one we remember, or it's our last one, right? Or our only one, whatever. This is it. And this is your life. This is your experience. And what you want to do with the majority of your time, which for most of us is however we spend our working time, right? If you think about a work week is generally 40 hours a week, that is a huge percentage of our awake time. That's like 2/3 of the time that we're awake. So whatever you're doing professionally should really align with whatever really sets your soul on fire. And I mean that in the best way. So, be happy with what you're doing, find the happiness with what you're doing. Don't wait for other people to find that for you. Speak up when something feels really good that you're working on, so that your management can understand like what makes you happy, what gets you excited. And then challenge yourself, because, and like Emily said, I don't stay still, I don't stay complacent, I don't get content and just stop. I want to build that feeling of like excitement and happiness, and feeling like what I'm doing is exciting me and fulfilling my soul's promise. So, it's funny because I reflect on currently right now, we're working up to this big live event at Debra Silverman Astrology, and there's so much to hold. There's so many things to do. We've been working around the clock, but you know what? It's felt better to me in terms of like the energetic exchange, because I know that what I'm working towards, all the time that I'm putting in, is for it's in alignment with my soul's purpose, and it's for the betterment of everybody, and it's for the betterment of myself. So when you do something that you love, like, it doesn't really feel like work. And that's true.
Yeah.
Because I've worked less hours for other companies and I felt more I felt the burnout. So find something that really excites you and do it. And also just, I think, and this is a lesson for me too, and Emily, you'll laugh at this, is don't wait for the right time and everything. Like, you have to just learn to take action and just trust in like the divine timing of everything.
Precisely. We have a question.
Why doesn't the natal chart span the 9 months of conception to birth? I would think that your birthday natal chart would be your ending in progression.
All right, let me think about that. So why doesn't...
So they're talking about your birth chart being generated from the point of conception.
Right. Okay. So I know that human design puts two charts together, because I had a human design reading from my friend who's also been on the channel. Shout out to Luke Vulgar. I can never say his last name. Luke Vulgaricus. Vulgaricus, sorry. Bless him. I apologize for the poor pronunciation of the Greek name you have. But yes, so I know that human design takes, I think it's 3 months before you're born, a chart there, and then adds it to the astrology chart, which is the moment you took your first breath. So that's human design, but astrology doesn't do that. I'm not sure why, but astrology takes it from the first breath. I hope that kind of
I would venture to think that when we think about how the language of astrology has been alive for thousands of years, I think it's because we were always looking up and looking at what was going on in the sky and how that related to what was happening on the ground. So there was much more of a in the moment translation of that energy instead of it being in the past. So I would say that that's why. I mean, I don't know the full 1,000 years history, but that would be what my assumption would be as far as why it starts from the moment you take your first breath.
I'm just going to read what this one was as well. What did she say? He or she, Morning Star. The stars involved when everyone is being formed or created would be from conception to birth. The rest of your life, you're either growing or aging. I guess in a way, I kind of think of that Carl Sagan quote that we're all made of star stuff, because it comes back into that theory of well, are we living one life or have we lived many lives? And was the sort of like elements of what we are, was that human, was that mineral, was that matter in some respect? It's kind of, we don't know.
I think the other part of this is consciousness, though, too. And there is like a separateness at birth when you go from being in the womb to being outside. So I think that that's just the point, the more, because we don't know exactly, and obviously there's a lot of different debate and also, and it's religious and political and all the things, as far as like at what point is there life, at what point. What we don't know definitively is that we don't know at what point there is truly consciousness, because even if we talk about the point of life being a heartbeat, we like, is the brain, what part of the brain is formed yet? Like, what part of the brain, what part of the body holds consciousness? So I think that's why there's this, like, when you are born, you are this separate entity, right? Like, you're taking your own first breath in the outside world, and you have that consciousness. So here's the point. Here's you taking your first breath. The astrologer runs outside, looks up at what constellation is on the eastern horizon. That's your rising sign. And then we look at the rest of, the center point of your natal chart is you, and everything else around it is where all the planetary alignment is. But it's a great question.
Yeah, I love it.
And a really interesting thing to ponder, for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking about the elements of life as well. So taking that first breath, that's air, isn't it? And then kind of what this person was saying, that yes, the fire that you finally get to live and to be vibrant in is that growing old, and actually after most of your working years. But then that taking a first breath, and then from that point learning to walk and feel into the world, it's kind of the earthy kind of factor of that. But you could argue that when you're in the womb, it's water, and you're sort of contained within some of the emotion and the intuition and everything in between. It's kind of, we don't know exactly where life starts, and as Lisa was saying, who defines it? It is a hard question to think about,
but a wonderful one, so thank you for presenting
beautiful.
it.
And there's a final thought here. We grow through the flesh because it births the soul which survives death. I actually love that.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for your comments. Amazing. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we want to share, or what time or commitments that you might have.
I do have to head out shortly, but I could talk forever. Says the air sign.
And you've got Gemini on your midheaven as well, haven't you? So your reputation for being someone who speaks a lot and thinks a lot and
yes,
connects the dots too.
Yeah,
we like connecting dots, don't we?
We sure do. I think my final thoughts just are, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, Emily. I appreciate the opportunity to be here virtually with all the rest of you. And in honor of Aquarius season, just open your mind up to possibilities beyond what you've already considered, and new ways and ideas, new ways of doing things, new ideas, new concepts. And as Emily said, the dismantling of past things that haven't worked. There's obviously some things happening in society that aren't working for us. So how we go about fixing that or remedying that, I think is a long game, but it's also very much it's an opportunity for us to look within and start with ourselves, right? Because we can't affect acting and sustainable change if we aren't solid within ourselves. So it's a call to go within on this new moon, and
definitely.
And again, check in with your vibration, check in with what you're feeling and where you want to be, who you want to be, and how do you get there?
Yes. Definitely manifesting your dreams into reality using divine timing of the lunar cycle, using so much wisdom that either one of us or any astrologer who's trained could tell you, but also knowing that your best boss, your best way to feel things out is looking at you, looking inward, as Lisa was saying. You're a beautiful soul. You put on this life to actually make powerful changes, and who knows what your future is apart from you, but we can advise and we can help you shape it if you choose to take advice from us. So of course, all of Lisa's details are in the notes, the description. But if there's anything that you want to say about where best to find you, go ahead, Lisa.
Find me on Instagram at Lisa Marie Astrology. Again, go to my link in bio if you'd like to book a reading. You can also DM me. I also have a link in my link in bio to join Debra Silverman's free astrological immersion. I will be your host, so you get to hear me talk even more. Live with some amazing celebrities. And of course, Debra Silverman is always a joy and full of so much fun wisdom. So join us, and I can't wait to see you there. And Emily, I can't wait to do this again.
It's been amazing, yes. And I am also eternally grateful for Debra and for being able to meet her, well, to meet you through her and the sort of insights that she gave my chart when we were not doing our level 3 together. So
yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for being here, everyone, and anybody on the replay too. Right, I'm going to end the broadcast now. You can stay on a bit if you want to, Lisa, but yes, I'm just ending it live. Bye, everyone. Love and light and everything else.